Hi guys, Michael with Juggernaut Welding and Fabrication out of Callahan, Colorado. It's been a while since I made a video. This is like super basic shit that I struggled with in the beginning when I bought my STV table because I waited to take the class and should have definitely taken the class before I ever started messing with it. But we're going to go over selecting a file, bringing it in, setting up our parameters, and cutting, and setting up project position. That was something, for some reason, that stumped me. So I've already got my file in here that I want to cut, but we're going to pretend like I don't. So I'm going to come over here, import file, and it's going to be this block right here with the arrow. All right, this is your import screen. You can either click on this and go into My MiniCAD and actually design your file there and then import it directly, or you can just search it by clicking the yellow folder. All right, I'm gonna go in. I have mine labeled all kinds of goofy stuff, but CNC jobs, we're gonna do a card display case is what I'm looking for. So scroll down, let's see, card display. It's down there. Anyway. So card display case, this is what I'm gonna bring in. So now that it's in this screen, we're gonna use the single arrow with the sheet of paper. If you wanted to fill your whole sheet and nest it, you would go ahead and use the plus with the paper and arrow. All right, so this is what I've got drawn up. It's a basic little card display, and this is the shelf for it, but I don't want that in there yet. I'm just test cutting this to make sure that the file is going to work and that I can bend all four corners on my press brake without running into issues. So once I've got it in this import screen, right, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to select my offset. This offsets for your kerf width so that you actually get an accurate dimension. 0.025 seems to work well for me. For fine cut consumables, it seems to be pretty accurate. Now, if you have anything in here that you're trying to cut out, you want to make sure your lead ends are in the correct orientation, and your offset is on the correct side. So if we zoom in here, you'll see actually what your offset is doing. So when I zoom in, you see the gray arrow is where it was going to cut, and then the green arrow is where it is going to cut now with my 0.025 offset. Okay, my lead ends are on the correct side. You don't want your lead ends coming from inside what you're trying to keep. Okay, so now that I've verified everything is the way I want it, I'm gonna click my checkbox. That's brought it into the cut screen. Now next, this is easy to forget if you're jamming and in a rush, or if you're talking while you're trying to do something. I mess up all the time. So you're gonna go in here to your cut parameters, and I know when I first bought my table, you basically had to test and go off book settings and test and play with them and get them just right, and you still will have to do that. But STV was nice enough to be able to hook us up with a way to import all the book settings from the book into the program. So I've got all my 45 amp cut settings and then my 85 amp down at the bottom. We're running 45 amp. This is really thin aluminum. Like I said, we're just going to be testing anyway. So I usually keep a set of dial calipers on me. Zero amount. So that is 05 roughly a 1/16 of an inch. So we're gonna come up here. I would probably run for this. We're gonna find our aluminum settings. Scroll down past stainless. Our aluminum, and you notice these say standard consumable next to it, right? So we're gonna find our aluminum. Let's go. All right. Should be good cut parameters for what we're gonna be cutting. I'm gonna come in here, and since I'm using fine cut consumables, I'm gonna cheat. It doesn't show a setting for fine cut for aluminum, so I'm gonna run my torch height at auto, which if you place a 0 in this block and check on, your torch height control will be auto. So we've got all that dialed in. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna set up our project position. And remember, you're at 45 amps. This computer system, the control box, will not control your amperage on your machine. So you have to manually adjust that. I was cutting 14 gauge steel earlier, so I know it's at 45 amps. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna raise my torch head up. And if you guys are 100% brand new and haven't done that yet, bring your torch height up. I usually bring it just a little bit above the plate. Now, if you could come over here, my son's recording this. I'm gonna show you again. This is like for just starting out. This is your torch height, up and down. These are your gantry movement. So I'm gonna scroll back. I'm gonna bring it back to this top left corner, and this sheet is kind of a piece of junk. It's pretty dented, but like I said, we're gonna just use it to make sure our file's correct. So I just learned this recently. If you hold control while using the blue arrows, it'll allow you to do fine movements, so it's not so jerky, so that you can really get up on the corner or the edge of your plate. So now that I picked my project position, or I know where I want to go, I'm going to run my torch down until I get a collision arrow. Z equals 0, so that zeroes out the Z axis. And then I'm going to tell it this top left corner. That's where I want my cut to start. Okay, that for some reason when I first got the table, I struggled with that. I'm like, how do we cut in the center of the sheet or on the corner? Again, I should have done more reading or asking, but tech support is amazing. Call and ask Barry, he'll help you out. Now we know our project position is set. I'm gonna bring my torch down a little bit, and I'm gonna hit the trace function. This square with the arrow up here is going to trace out and show us the largest portion of the material it's going to take up. Hopefully I don't get a collision here because I didn't raise it up far enough. But you could raise your torch height up just a little bit. You don't have to do like me. So we know that it's going to be cutting on the material. That's the biggest thing. You want to make sure you're not going to run off the material. And again, I should have raised my torch height a little bit. But we know that's where it's going to cut. Now we can come over. We've already set our parameters here. We've got our project position. We're ready to cut. Hit play and let that baby eat. Again, this is just basic first time cutting type of scenario. Thanks for watching.